up? What up? Welcome into another episode of Profit Picks. If you are new, we do always start this show by being transparent. And yesterday, it was a pretty good day for me. Best bet for the show, I believe, was Boston first quarter. That was a winner. And outside of that, I had a 5-1 day. So only loser, Lakers. I think it's. I think we found our first hell no team of the season, Mr. Veno. How did yesterday treat you? And how
It
you
was
been?
good. Yeah, no, I've been good, Skee. Glad to see you back from what was hopefully a fun weekend for you. I had a single play last night. It was college football. The Toledo game over. Hey, Munop is on the money. For the Toledo game went way over the total. I think there was, that number hung around 46 and then dropped to 45 and a half, 45. I think people were afraid of a little bit of rain. Toledo covered the over by themselves. Back-to-back college football winners, 8-2 college football streaks. So it's been a good run where college football is concerned. In the last 2 days, that's all I've really taken part in. It's been one college game on Tuesday, one college game on Wednesday. The NBA obviously was off Tuesday. And last night, I don't know, Skee, I couldn't find a heck of a lot. We did the NBA show and talked about some things, and I kind of liked Miami. I hate when days go like that, right? When you kind of lean one way, but you don't play and it wins, and you're like, God, I should have played. I had a couple of those yesterday in Miami and in OKC. You were with me. It was the contrarian play of the day. Those contrarian guys just continue to be a pain in the ass, but
Every time.
it was okay.
Yeah, I'm not too fond of those contrarian guys. I guess I got to try to stay out their way though as best as I can because um, it's not fun stepping in front of them and seeing those outcomes. What up, JT? That's one of the guys I was out there with, Ravino at the track. Good guy there. And we have a new member. Let me see here. P Pen, new member. I appreciate you, brother. And members, you already know what the hockey play is for today. Shared it with you guys yesterday. And we'll get to that first. These comments here, Rob, first of all, it's a lot of guesses. They're back guessing for the shirt. We had yellow guesses, blue guesses. Booper said light sky blue, and they made some odds. Light sky blue was minus 130, yellow was plus 110, black was plus 165, and no shirt was, what is that, plus a million? So we're having some fun in the chat.
we don't do shows with no shirts around here. Man, it's funny, Skee, because I was on this morning. NBA tip-off for Wager Talk goes in the AM this year on Thursdays. And on that particular show, I wore like an aqua blue. And I said, if somebody was watching, I'm going to change my shirt for Skee's show so they don't get the edge on it.
Oh, yeah. They try to cheat, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's funny, man. I love when we can have fun in the chat. And I love the odds for the shirts. A couple more people. What up, Dabby Cab? My guy touchdown in Vegas. Saw him last night. And we'll hang out again before you go home. But nice to see you. And let's take a couple more looks. Munaf had a nice day. 5-3. Good work there, brother. And Veno has to go shirtless for at least one. I think he's saying at least one show.
Anthony want to break my stones all the time. He keeps that ass end of the line going all the time. Good guy. Very good guy. Like I said, at some point, we get you in the same city, Anthony, and we will share a drink. 3 of us.
Absolutely. Nice. All right, let's get to it, Rob. As they say on Wager Talk today, let's get to some actionable info. Mm-hmm. All right. So we'll start off with hockey. Like I said, shared this one with my members yesterday, but we'll go Penguins at Kings. And this is one, I'm gonna share it with you guys again for people who are new. I know we have a lot of new people, but we've been riding this trend for the past few seasons, and it's been pretty damn good. So let's see if I can pull it up here on the share screen. Because this one I'm really just trusting the trend. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it type. And you see this, correct, Rob?
I do.
So we call this the party guy trend. But it's teams that just played in Vegas and they return home for their next game. And the thought process for me, at least, with this trend is everybody, athletes, they're human, just like everybody else. They come out here to Vegas, they want to have a good time, they want to party. When they go back home, they don't care about playing a whole lot of defense. So, looking at the trend, going back the past few seasons to 2021, we have 37, 11, and 1 to the over, so 77.1%. Average total was around 6. But I was, with that thought process of how I said, if they if they win that game, they probably want to party a little harder, wouldn't you say, Rob?
Well, absolutely, right? Makes sense. Common sense.
So I'll type in and add in if they win here, and voila, 16-3 to the over, 84.2%. They're gonna turn up. They just won yesterday, but the one caveat with this one is they didn't have too much time because they had to return home. This is a back to back. We've only seen this scenario in a back to back in this trend one time. So let me also just put that in here. I'm pretty sure it's one time. Stress equals 0. It was the first game or first time it was active this season, I believe, and first time in since we've been following it. The Ducks and the Canes, we were on that one, and it flew over the 6.5, 6-3. So they're on a back to back again tonight. We're comfortable with it. We'll take over the 6.5 goals. Any opinion there, Rob? Or I know you don't do too much hockey.
Yeah, no, I'm much more of a listener when it comes to hockey than I am a analysis guy. So again, I think I've been on the show with you when you've broken that trend out before. So I've heard it from you more than once. And like I say, if I'm going to do anything in hockey, I'm going to tail rather than lead. So it makes perfect sense to me. I don't see why you wouldn't want to play that game.
All right. I like hearing that. Rob in agreement. Appreciate you, Mike, shouting us out here. Let me take a look at a couple more comments, see if anybody else has some hockey looks or just opinions on this game. Everybody looks like they're ready to get to NBA.
Okay.
They don't want to do too much NHL, and that's all good. Chill Will says, Yo, Skee, thanks for the looks yesterday. Now let me smash the like button several times. I appreciate it. We're helping you make some money. It helps out the show if you could hit the like button for me. Uh, I believe I did this already, Munoz, and it was only one time. So I think you might have put that before I put it on the screen. And EQ like the Rangers in NHL. I'll shout that out. I'm not gonna cap the whole NHL card. I'm just looking at this one game. So we'll keep it moving. We'll go over to something that we do cap every day, and that's gonna be NBA. We do have some college football, a lot of college basketball, but it's a little early for college basketball for myself. So my focus on the other things here. And in the chat, we're seeing some line movement. That's what they're talking about. Bucks are down to -2. Total's coming down a little bit. So let's look at this one here. Bucks at Pacers. Opened up -3.5 for the Bucks. They're now -2, and the total's about where it opened. Injury report. Let's refresh this because this has to be some kind of injury news. And there it is. Damian Lillard pops up on the injury report. And I don't like to see that. Because he's a guy who is really capable from beyond the arc, really great scorer, and doesn't play a whole lot of defense if playing any defense at all. So I would want him out there for my overlook in this game. But I'm still pretty confident we get Giannis. I mean, he only played 21 minutes in their previous game. And Middleton, it looks like they've taken Middleton off the injury report. Giannis has been added, but he's still likely to play, it says. So I think we'll get at least those guys. We probably won't get Lillard, but I'll still like it. It's just a fact of how the Bucks are going to play, how the Pacers are going to play. So on the flip, looking at both of these teams, top 10 in pace so far, both bottom 5 defensive rated teams, where we can expect an up-tempo game and not a whole lot of defense. And if we take it a little bit further than that, both teams really good shooting the 3, and neither team good defending it. It just matches up really well for points in this matchup, and that's what we've seen every time these teams have played, or at least the last 5 times they played. They produced 250 plus points in each one of them. So, do I think that's gonna end just because Lillard is not out there? No, I would obviously love it if he was out there more, but this has to be a scenario where we get points. Don't you think, Rob?
Well, I wouldn't bet it under. That's for sure. Even though it is back to back with travel for Milwaukee, even though it is back to back, no travel for Indiana here. Um, we saw again last night, Skee, these two teams just play a certain style, which you've already told everybody. And 134 to 118, 252 in the Pacer game last night, 120 to 118, 238 in the Bucks game last night. Just the beat goes on with a bunch of these teams right now. These scores are incredibly high to start the season. And of course, the totals have been adjusted somewhat accordingly by odds makers. The Giannis thing, I had this game this morning on the Wager Talk NBA tip-off show, and my thought was I would have really, really liked Indiana as a client release if, in fact, Giannis had played last night, but he gets double-teed and thrown out of the game, like you said, after 21 minutes. And so he should be fresh. Damian Lillard hitting the injury report now. We'll see where that goes. But when you look up and down these rosters, and now you and I were together yesterday, and you talked about this a little bit with the Bucks and Pistons game, that the Bucks had no business giving 12.5 to anybody in the NBA at this point in time. And that proved true once again last night, 120, as I said, to 118. They just don't play enough defense. And when you look through that rotation and then look through Indiana's rotation, and I'm talking about 1 through 8, 1 through 9, Indiana's got more scores, I feel, at this point in time. Indiana might be a little bit hindered size-wise, right? When you combine Lopez and Giannis, it's a little bit bigger than what Indiana is. But still, I love a quote from Rick Carlisle after last night's win, 134-18. He was really referring to his players that come off the bench who had really good nights last night, including one Aaron Nesmith. And the quote was, if we're going to have a chance to be a postseason team, this is going to have to be our mindset. In other words, what he's alluding to is everybody has to contribute on a nightly basis. And it seems like the Pacers have really good chemistry to me, Skee. Adding Bruce Brown to the equation here for his defensive ability on the perimeter. Not that they're a great defensive team, but he helps leadership, the fact that he wants to play defense. And then we've talked ad nauseum the last year and a half about Halliburton at point guard. Benedict Mathurin in his second year is coming into his own. I just like the way Indiana's playing right now. I would tend to like that side, although we're looking at somewhere near a pick'em game right now. I feel like Indiana's probably more focused this early in the season. They want to get to, a spot where Milwaukee already is. So if one team's going to shrug this off and the other team's going to take it seriously, I would say Indiana would be the team to take it seriously. Again, I didn't release it as a client selection tonight because Giannis is going to have his minutes out there. Somewhat scary when they only have to win a game, but I do lean Indiana in this game. So you lean a little over, I lean a little Indiana. We'll see if those come true.
Well, if Indiana is winning a game, that means that they're probably doing pretty good from the field because we're not going to see them getting a whole lot of stops. Just like we've seen majority of their games, extremely high scoring. So I like to hear that, and I agree. I wouldn't be laying with the Bucks at all versus anybody really right now. I just don't think they're at that point. Can they be at some point? Yes, they're not there right now. There was a comment here that I wanted to address. G. Martinez says back-to-back overs. He's not really liking it. Giannis played 21 minutes yesterday. Middleton didn't play. On the flip side, the only person for the Pacers was Mathurin, who played extensive minutes for them. So I don't think it's really going to bother these guys too much. Plus, the Pacers are really young. Like Casey says here, they're just going to run and gun anyway. It's not really going to bother those guys. Kaysen says, if Cade had his way against Milwaukee last night, Hallie will too. But we absolutely want Lillard in there to help out with that. But I would agree with that. Facts Mob trying to help us out says get the likes up. Much appreciated if you guys enjoy the show. And G Martinez says Bucks have owned them. Maybe Pacers finally get one. Munaf liking Pacers team total and Hallie points plus assists. Can't talk you off of either one of those looks. Sean coming in with Hallie over 10.5 assists. Think that's a good look. And Munaf looking at it as well says 147 people watching and only 35 likes. Appreciate you guys looking out for me. Hit it if you appreciate the show and like the show. Halliburton over. Rob, is there anybody else you think you could look at? I mean, if Lillard is not out there, Giannis probably goes crazy, right? His points prop is probably a look. Anybody else you can think of here?
Yeah, and I think as you were scrolling through the chat room comments there, Anthony pointed out that his points total all of a sudden went up from 25.5 to 28.5 on the Lillard news. So you're going to pay. Yeah, there it is right there. I thought I saw that go by. And, to get 30 out of him in a game that's going to be played at pace with little defense. And as I mentioned, the Pacers are short on size. You would have to play over if you were going to play it at all. So even at that move, I could see 29 out of Giannis here. Probably a little ticked off because last night when he got thrown out, to tell you the truth, he didn't do anything. He basically stared at a guy. And that was the end of it. But he went to the bench, kind of crossed his legs, and I think maybe he has a little bit of play in him tonight. So I could not argue against Giannis over 28.5 points.
Yeah, refs were with us yesterday. They had that Detroit plus 12 in their pocket. Huh? I wasn't mad at it. Says last season, Giannis in 3 games versus the Pacers averaged 34.7 points per game and 12.7 rebounds. Good matchup for him. All right, I think we did pretty good on this game. Giannis props, Hallie props. You looking a little bit more towards the Pacers. I'm liking the over, and I would agree on the Pacers as well. So good stuff on this first game. Let's move over to the only other NBA game that we have for today. And I noticed it when I was doing the banners, just because I wanted to do it correctly. I usually put at, but there's no home team in this one. The Magic versus the Hawks, 503, 504. Open Hawks minus 2.5. Now 3.5 point favorite. Total open 233. And as low as 231 at Caesars. Injury report. Let's also hit refresh here. So for the Hawks, looks like, and I don't even know how to say his name. So I'm not even going to try. Not a guy I see play too much. Game time decision. Wesley Matthews out in Orlando. Jonathan Isaac game time, but likely Markelle Fultz game time. True game time decision. They'll be without Wendell Carter Jr. They'll be without Gary Harris. And I had a few different thoughts about this game here, Rob. So number one, I already mentioned there's no home team, right? So I went and looked at games played in Mexico City. They're all fairly low scoring. And I look back to 1997. There's only a couple that surpassed the total that we're looking at today. And one of those was an overtime game. So I was looking a little bit closer. And in that Mexico City game, they're going to be playing at, even more altitude than Denver. I think it was like something like 2,000 feet higher or something. So it should take guys time to get adjusted to that. And I think that's going to affect shot making. That's why we see these lower scoring games. So I think this total is a bit too high. We look at how the Magic team has been so far this season. They haven't surpassed this number in any game. Why do we expect them to here? They're playing at a bottom 10 pace. They're a top 5 defensive rated team. And neither one of these teams is good shooting a 3. Both are bottom 10. So all of those things put together, how does this game get up and over in Mexico City? That's my first thought. Any opinion from you, Rob?
Yeah, that point, again, it was brought up this morning on the show by our colleague Brian Leonard. The altitude is 7,300 feet in Mexico City. And he had the same opinion that, guys would get winded second half mainly. If you're going to try total and you're going to try over, you probably want to try first half rather than second half, especially if the game is tight. The one difference between the two, I think, Skee, is Orlando has experience. I think they were here in Mexico City, so they've done it once before, and maybe that provides an advantage for them. I think that where Atlanta's concerned, they've gotten off to a little bit better start than they have in recent years. And we always point out the fact that Trae Young had the quote where, let's just get to the playoffs, forget the regular season. But they are 4-3 right now. But Trae Young has not shot the ball well at all. So this goes to your point about liking under here. I think his 3-point percentage this year is hovering around 27%. And if he's not making shots, he's still scoring points, but he's not really making threes. I wonder myself how this one gets over. I think Orlando, one of a handful of NBA teams that's basically predicated on the defensive side. They pay attention to the defensive side. And some of that they do through pace, as you talked about. So I can't really see this one getting up and over. I also bring into the equation, we often do this in the NCAA tournament, that teams get on these floors where there are different rims, different backgrounds, different stuff. And this will be the same for these guys. I know that they probably had an opportunity to practice here, but it's still a different atmosphere for them. And sometimes it takes a while to get adjusted where shooting is concerned. So I didn't know those numbers dating back to 1997 where unders are concerned, but it's certainly understandable, makes a lot of sense to me. And I could see this one staying under. I think that, based on the records of the two, and I know it's early in the season, but much like I said about Indiana, Orlando's one of these teams that's focused early on to win basketball games and in their philosophy and their style to play defense. So I could not argue under here. The side is a little bit tougher, but I do think under is probably the right way.
All right, I like hearing that. So we're in agreement there. Couple comments that I wanted to shout out here, Rob. First, Munaf has a good one here. Magic first half +2 and money line says the Magic are 7-0 straight up, 7-0 ATS in the first half. They have the second best defensive rating in the first half and a net rating of +17.7. Hawks net rating in the first half is -3.9. So making it sound good, Munaf, and can't talk you off at all in this one, but maybe Itachi will. Let's see. He has a little bit of a different view here. Since 2015, divisional favorites playing against a team they beat in their last matchup where both teams have more than a day of rest. 89-25 straight up, 78.1%. Says to take the Hawks money line. He says, but it's a little juiced. So a little bit different opinions. I mean, I guess you put them together, right? I mean, Munaf only likes the first half. Magic first half, Hawks full game, Hawks second half. That could definitely be a way that the game is played. Any opinion on those first half numbers there, Rob?
Well, I think, and that's the difference when you're going to play technical angles, right? One of those that you just read is current this season, and the other is historical. It goes back a little ways. And so how much credence do you put into what happened, 3-4 years ago, as opposed to what's happening right now? I tend to, just my own personal opinion, when I handicap, I pay attention more to current numbers than I do to historical trends. We went through this yesterday, right, Skee? We had a number, I think Ralph, oh God, let me get this right. I think he pointed out that the Charlotte Hornets were 2-12 under the total when favored at home last year. Like they won their first one, then went 2-12 after that. But then I kind of pushed back a little bit and said, maybe they went under because LaMelo wasn't playing last year, because they had a whole host of injuries, Gordon Hayward, et cetera, et cetera. And sure enough, they went over last night. So sometimes you have to go back and dig a little deeper than just the number and the percentage with those historical trends.
Absolutely. It's just how do I say? It just should be a part of your handicap and not the entire handicap. Unless you get one of those trends that's just, cash in time and time and time again, then you go ahead and ride it out. So I
like
hear
the hockey party train.
Yeah, we're gonna ride that one out. It's 3-0 so far this year. We're riding that bad boy out. Let's see. Boofer says he doesn't like going back to 2015. NBA changed in the bubble, so from 2019 is about as far back as I would like to look. And I understand that. I'm bringing those second half stats now. Says the second half flips. Hawks are number 2 in net rating, plus 13.8. Magic fall to number 28, minus 12.2. Magic defense falls to number 15 in the second half. So yeah, I mean, if those things hold true, Magic first half, Hawks full game are the way to look here. And I don't want to talk anybody off of those, but I just like the under a bit more. There was a good point here about the Magic a little shorthanded. There we go. It was Jam Rock kicks. Magic a little shorthanded. Capella might eat Batazzi down there for Orlando. They are without Wendell Carter Jr., so I get that point. We shall see. I don't really feel. I mean, if I had to play it, I would play it the way we just discussed: first half and the full game, or just play Magic first half and look for a second half number. But I'll stick with the total here. Any last words for Magic versus Hawks, Rob?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Skee. I'm up in the air on this game. Didn't have a real firm decision on the side play. I do think that the under makes sense, especially again, we just talked about historical numbers, right? And you were dating back to 1997, but I think in that case, it just speaks of the venue more than the having roster turnover or something like that in a trend. This just tells you that when they're 7,300 feet above sea level, maybe they tire at the end of games. Maybe the shooting isn't as good when you come from an arena here and go to that arena and you haven't played there before. So I think under makes a little more sense to me. If I were going to play, I'd probably play that way.
All right, love hearing that. And Casey is letting us know that first half full game prop is plus 500 if you would like to play it pregame. So could be worth a look there. DT looking at the Hawks props. Murray Young will get theirs. Sleeper prop moneymaker is a Kongwu points and rebounds. And I'm a fan of that guy. I think he's a great player. Let's see. Star Child, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you tuning in. Says hit that like button. DJ is reminding everybody to do the same. Robert, he says like number 79. Hey guys, checking in from Winnipeg, Canada. We appreciate you tuning in, bro. Hopefully we can help you win some money. And Jamrock Kick says this total just dropped to 230.5 on DraftKings. I like it. I like it quite a bit. So I think that's it for NBA here. We only had 2 games. We talked about one hockey game. They are 2 college football games, but you guys know. Oh, there's NFL too, but I mean, I've told you guys already. I'm really not focused on football too much at the moment, just because I feel like I'm in my zone in NBA. But just really quickly, Rob, I want to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
Because I'm certain you've been following NFL closer than I have. So, what possible reason could the Bears be favored versus anybody in the NFL right now? Like, especially over a field goal. I get that the Panthers look really bad. Like, I didn't watch any NFL games last week. They look really bad, for the beginning of the season. But the Bears look bad too. Why are the Bears even getting this kind of respect for this game?
Yeah, I mean, some of that is simply based on home field. How much do you give the Bears for home field? Do you give them 2? I don't know. Probably you give them 2, 2.5. The Bears looked halfway decent last week against New Orleans. New Orleans took 4 quarters to finally pull away at home 24-17. The Bears again with a backup quarterback. No Justin Fields, but and there's Munaf is pointing out something that I was about to say. Their secondary, especially, is a mess. Carolina enters the game tonight without a single defensive backfield starter that they started the season with, all 4 guys out. And so even though Chicago has a backup QB here, he has shown the ability to produce some points. And when you're going against a secondary that has no pass rush either, it's difficult. So maybe the Bears are the better of 2 evils. I don't know. It's hard to lay points with a team as bad as the Bears. But Bryce Young, last week, 2 pick sixes he threw. His offensive line doesn't protect him. I think if you're just weighing situations, as bad as the Bears is, Carolina's is probably worse. And they're on the road here. So that accounts for why the number is where it is. But trying to tell you that that's why the Bears are going to win by 4 or more, I'm not doing that either. I just know that there's some problems here for Carolina, probably that run deeper than what the Bears are facing.
I hear you on that. And Star Child wants me to ask you about the total. He says he get both of these teams are bad, but most of the Panthers games have went over. And there was one more comment here. We talked about the Panthers. Well, you talked about it, they're decimated by injuries, especially on defense. So is this total too low for a defense this banged up and just poor in general?
And you know me, I like overs, and this total is sitting in such a low position for an NFL game. Ski, I think I saw 38, 38 and a half earlier this morning, 38. And I could only play it over. I mean, we talk about the Panthers being banged up and potentially their secondary can be vulnerable and victimized by the Bears. But the Bears defense is horrendous as well. And so if Bryce Young is going to have a little bit of a game at some point in time, then that would be this game right here. They do run the ball halfway decent. Ski, Chuba Hubbard, Oklahoma State running back, pretty good. Running the football last week. So I would say yes, there's no question in my mind that if I had to choose between over or under in this game, I'd be playing this game to get at least a 39. 39, you're talking about a 23-16 game. Seems very doable to me. And both of these quarterbacks can be prone to mistakes. Like I say, Bryce Young threw 2 pick sixes last week, so you can't rule out a defensive score or a defensive turnover that leads to a short field and a score. Short answer to Star Child's question, I would say over.
All right, guys, saying primetime unders, but I don't think primetime unders have even been that strong this year. I think they started off good, but I don't think they've been. I don't even think they're profitable. But I'd have to go back and check. Mr. Barlow, I don't really have a strong opinion on this one. I'm thinking it's a lower scoring game, so I probably wouldn't be looking for a whole lot of points plus assists, which is the kind of double double you're looking for with Trey. So I probably would be against this prop, just for that reason. But I appreciate you. He says he loves the show. A couple more comments here. Guys like in Adam Thielen over 6.5 receptions. Sean Evans says sprinkle something on Hubbard over 10. Herbert is back in, right?
The running back, no, he's out.
Okay, he's out.
He's out. Yep.
Atachi sharing another trend here. This is for football. So let's see. Going back to the 2021 season, home favorites where both teams are below 500. Okay, so home favorites of more than 3 when both teams are below 500, and it's beyond week 7. They're 23-5 straight up, 82.1%. Says that they're favored for a reason based on this trend by Itachi. So that would say to take the Bears, and maybe the Panthers are just that bad. Anthony says 13-7 final score. Antonio likes the Bears minus 3.5. And the Facts Mob likes DJ Moore 5+ receptions. So I don't think I'll be getting involved here. After talking a little bit, maybe a little bit of a lean towards the over. If anything in this game, absolutely, will not be laying with the Bears. I don't really care who they play. I'm just not doing it. I will not feel happy with myself at the end of the day if I lose that wager. So I'll leave that alone. The guys in the chat did say that they wanted to ask about some college football. I would have to scroll up quite a bit, but there we go.
While
Veno
you
got
do,
college
Ski,
football.
there's Boofer. While you scroll up, let me just say to that very last comment that you had about DJ Moore over and receptions, that makes a ton of sense simply because DJ Moore came over from the Carolina Panthers. He's now on the Bears. If they're going to feed a wide receiver tonight against a depleted secondary, you would think DJ Moore has a really good night. So to me, that pointed out right there by Fax Mob, I think is a really, really good look.
All right, he says only failed to cash once this year. So Rob agreeing with him on that there. See what Itachi's saying here. Bears face a respectable Saints defense, but Panthers face a Colts defense who has been one of the worst over the past 3 weeks. And here we go. Boofer saying he's liking Virginia plus 20. You have any opinions on this game here? It did open minus 19 and a half. Now it's Louisville minus 20 and a half. Total sitting at 50 and a half.
Skee, this is the perfect guy to ask me this question, Boofer, because we were talking about NBA a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of said I was done with a lot of the prop bets in NBA. Just got too much for me. And he told me not to hate on first quarters, second quarters. But in this game, I have to say, Boofer, I looked and I still may get there with Louisville first quarter. The number is 6.5, but the juice is up there. It's between 20 and 25 cents. However, Louisville's played, it's either 4 or 5 home games this year. But the point being, every single home game they've played this season has gone, or they've covered 6.5. They've been up by at least 7 in every single first quarter. However, the flip side to that, and what slowed me down a little bit, is Virginia on the road has been in the lead or tied in every game but one. So the question becomes, do you like Louisville and their personnel, which is much stronger than Virginia's, or do you like the points with the weaker team? I still think I prefer Louisville at home in that situation with Jeff Brom. Jeff Brom, for those who don't know, head coach at Louisville who came over from Purdue, generally has an early script that produces points everywhere he's gone, from Western Kentucky to Purdue to now Louisville. He can produce points early. I think I would trust him to score at least one touchdown in the first quarter here. And the defense, which has been surprisingly good for Louisville, to keep Virginia somewhat quiet. They'll be with a backup quarterback, although their backup quarterback has played plenty this year. So for Boofer's question, I think if I'm going to choose in that game, I like Louisville first quarter minus 6.5.
All right, good stuff. Can't say you hating on those first quarters anymore.
At least not in college football.
Oh, here we go, my guy. Well, EQ says Louisville, but damn, that's a lot of points. My guy Ragu comes in here, and when Ragu talks about football, Ragu knows a lot about a lot of different sports, but I really respect his football knowledge and handicapping. Bears team total over 21 and a half. Caesars need 3 touchdowns plus to make a go. Bears average right at 20. Both teams giving up right under 27 apiece. Bears at home, 20, 27, 13, and 30 scored. So he's thinking the Bears, because of this poor Panthers defense, can go over their team total. And I would feel more comfortable with doing something like that than backing the Bears to win. And if you look at, looking at what Rick Grew just said right there, I know we're on a different game again, but looking at what he said there, combined with what Itachi put in there for that trend for the Bears money line, and then Rob and I talking the game out, saying we like the over. This bet is quite appealing to me. So maybe I'll have a football bet today. If I do, it's going to be very small, but appreciate you sharing, Ragu. That seems like a very good look. This college football game, I'm not sure if you're even interested in it, but Southern Miss and UL Lafayette open minus 12 is down as low as 8.5 for them. Total not moving very much, just at 52.5. Any opinions there? I'm not the college football guy at all.
I'll say this: where Southern Miss is concerned, the last 2 weeks have been their best 2 weeks of the season, except for the initial week when they won a game. They played Appalachian, I think, a couple of weeks ago, led at halftime, led through 3, wound up losing 48-38. Last week, they come up with a win. They seem to be getting a little bit better as the season wears on. For UL Lafayette, they'll be with a backup quarterback here. They're not the same. I guess they're called Louisiana now, right? I still refer to them as UL Lafayette, but they're not the same team that we have seen in recent history. All that being said, it's hard for me to get there with this underdog, which has been bet pretty well so far this week. They were bet from 12 down to 9. Then I think it crawled back to 9.5, and there were some 10s early this morning. I just don't trust Southern Miss enough to go ahead and take points with them, even though they're playing better. Still a bad football team. The other half of this equation is total. You have to look at total. And I think I missed the boat, Skee, because yesterday I was about to pull the trigger on 51 and a half and play it over. Since then, this morning, it got kicked up to 52 and a half, and I think there were some 53s. I do think there's potential for this game to go over because Southern Miss's improvement has been on the offensive side where they're scoring. Like I say, against Appalachian State, they scored 38 a couple of weeks ago. But defensively, they're a mess. And Louisiana, which would like to just run the football, can probably do so in chunks and make it easy on their backup quarterback. So the total looked fairly appealing to me. But at this price, now that it's been moved up 1.5 points again, I'm not so sure. So I stayed off. I couldn't argue anybody. I see Starchild saying he's leaning Southern Miss first half there. And I can't argue that because they really are playing better, but they're just such a bad football team. Just to put it into context, the other week when they played Appalachian State, they were winning by, I think, 3 scores and wound up losing by 10 points. So defensively, they're a mess. That's really where the problem lies. We'll see if UL Lafayette can take advantage of that. Asking them to win by more than 10, not something I want to do, but not something that they can't do.
Fair enough. A lot of comments, a lot of different opinions in the chat. Hopefully, we're helping you guys out make some of those decisions on these games. This comment here, C. James says plus 1,000. He gets up and plays that piano. I'm loving the odds for everything in the chat.
Yeah. That's what the show's about, odds.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun in here. So we talked about college football now. Of the only 2 games I see, we're not going to get through college basketball. It's really early. If we have a spot, we'll shout it out. But not really loving anything today. So that's it, Rob. I think it's about that time. I ask you if there's anything or a play that you like a little bit more than the rest, and if there's anything that you like to promote.
Yeah, very quickly, let's get the promotion taken care of here, Skee. You can find all my work at wagertalk.com. For those of you who are not currently a member at Wager Talk, it's really simple. Drop your email address and you'll get access to all the free video and written content produced by the 30 plus handicappers and analysis over there at Wager Talk each and every day. Skee and I part of a lot of shows over there weekly. As I mentioned, I was on NBA earlier today. I was on with Skee with their NBA show yesterday. They do NHL, they do college football, NFL. Aside from that, you can find me later on this afternoon. For those that are looking for more college football, I'll be on Drew Martin's Every Game on the Board show later on this afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific, where we're going to go through games. I think my block of games on that show this week is 201, rotation number 201 through to the end. So if you have interest in any of those 14, 15 games, go ahead and tune in. We're going to analyze all of those for you. Let's get to today's pick, Skee. And I'm going to say right up front, as of yet, I have not released anything to clients. I have not bet anything personally myself as of yet. But I will say for purpose of this show, where I'm closest at this point in time is Bears Panthers over 38. I just think the number is too low. Even though it looks like 2 downtrodden bottom feeders that can't do anything right. Again, you're always betting against the number. And to me, 38 in the NFL is a number that can be gotten to fairly easily. And especially when you have the injury situation that we talked about with Carolina's secondary. And especially when you have Bryce Young and company against a Bears defense that's not good either. So if I do get there with something myself, it will be Bears Panthers over 38 points. But out of all the things we talked about today on the show, it's what I like the best. So that's what I'm going to leave you with here. Chicago, Carolina over 38.
All right, good stuff. And I like it too. Just like Rob said, my work can also be found at wagertalk.com. My best bets, as far as, how they're ranked on there, 4% or 5%. I won 43 of my last 50, and I do have one going tonight. So we'll try to keep it going with the winning ways there. Best bet for the show, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're going with the party guy trend. And, for the people who are new, I explained it in the beginning of the show. I showed you guys right there on the screen. And it's been profitable for us the past couple seasons. So we'll write it out once more. That will be LA Kings, Pittsburgh Penguins, over 6.5 tonight. And just double checking, make sure it didn't move. Yes, still see 6.5 pretty much across the board. So hockey best bet for myself. Rob telling you which way he's looking on the football card. And that will be the show. We appreciate you guys tuning in the chat. The show is nothing without you guys. Very entertaining and a lot of good information as well. If you guys are enjoying the show, if we help you make some money, hit the like button for us. Hit the subscribe so you know when we're live. And the next time will be tomorrow. We'll be right back here at 10:30, Rob and myself, and we'll catch you guys then. So best of luck if you tell. Good luck on all of your action. Later.